Coming up, Herbie goes bananas for the Broncos. The Rhinos get stampeded by the Devils. And the French double is raised as Toulouse finally joins the winner's circle. Yes, hello, and welcome to the Sideline Chat podcast, the one-stop shop for rugby league. Along with Mark Hendry, I'm Conor Marcells, and today is your NRLW round 4 and 5, along with your NRL round 2 and 3 debrief, as we always do. It's the NRLW first up, and we look at the first result in a shocking upset. The Gold Coast Titans downing the Brisbane Broncos 28-26.
Newcomers beating the experienced clubs. It's a Queensland derby. We've got what we all want to see in a Queensland derby. A close game, and it's only the Broncos' second defeat in NRLW history.
And the first time in 3 years.
Yes.
All up, which is a remarkable achievement.
It is, and to do it, and for the newcomers like the Titans to do it, that is a good sight to see.
The Titans started out with a lot of energy and jumped out to a 2-try lead, but they couldn't necessarily get on top up throughout. I mean, the Broncos did find their way back, and they were down on troops with no Millie Boyle and no Tamika Upton because the spicy cough from the east decided, hey ladies, how's your night doing?
Yeah, that was unfortunate there. Maybe it might have cost Brisbane a game, but...
Although, how many times have we seen players now ruled out on a whim?
Well, exactly, too. But Gold Coast, like you said, they raced out to a good lead. Brisbane come back, and then the Gold Coast come back through and sealed it.
The right edge of the Titans was where really all the real damage was done. Of course, Steph Hancock charging through, just steaming even on to score the first try, and that set the tone up for the Titans. And even when Brisbane started throwing the ball around, targeting the edges, there's either side of the field, making Gold Coast nervous, no panic from the Titans.
No, it wasn't, which is good to see. It shows that they can handle the pressure by an experienced side, especially their Queensland counterparts. Good to see that. Hopefully that builds them on to coming into the final round of the season.
The key with this game, and I think it lies with Jasmine Peters for me, on the Titans' right side at centre. 2 tries, 84 run meters, 3 tackle breaks. Her efforts helped the Titans get back into the game and set it up for the match-winning goal to take them to a 28-26 lead.
It definitely was, and that really did give the Titans a much-needed confidence booster to help seal that neat victory. And to look at the live coverage after that try was scored, you could tell they were jumping around, they were ecstatic with it. And even after the goal was kicked in out the full-time siren, it was unbelievable scenes to see.
Yeah, with Brianna Clark, with 3 minutes to go, front rower by trade, stepping up for that. But yeah, a classic game. 2 strong sides. Well, I mean, the Broncos, the strong side against, and as you pointed out, the newcomers. I don't think the Broncos will be overly disappointed. Of course, there was only 2 points in it, so really, only one lapse in discipline can cost them 2 points.
Yeah, exactly right. And with the records over the years, they've shown that they're brilliant. So a second loss won't. Also, they'll be disappointed to some extent, but
it'd hurt. It'd hurt that their golden record has now been broken. But it's just like, okay, so we lost. We'll just reload and we'll belt the next team we face.
Exactly right, and that's what they've been. That shows that they're just a dominant force, as we've been saying since week 1 of this season.
I think this win gives the Titans all the confidence now, and I think they are now in a fine place to lock away a finals berth. Straight up.
Possibly. Let's have to see what the Roosters do.
Well, speaking of the Roosters, they too are putting themselves in a position to make a late charge for the finals, downing the Parramatta Eels 19 points to 18. I mean, honestly, I'm going to say, the start from Parramatta, it was not the best start in the world.
No. it wasn't the best at all. The Roosters raced out to a 12-0 lead.
In the first 10 minutes.
Yes.
This game could have gone anywhere, and the tries that Parramatta conceded, first pulling Bovetti Welsh out of position with that kick, that awkward kick from Racine McGregor, that bounce could have gone anywhere.
It certainly could have gone anywhere, and that's what you risk to take. You put someone out of position and the ball can bounce anywhere, and you risk it. You can either get the ball or the opposition will get the ball.
Exactly right, but the second try by Maya Hill Moana, what was that? It was like untouched.
Yeah.
Just like a hole opens up in the Roosters' goal line defence, and it was just like, oh, look at this. This will be the easiest try you'll score in your career.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell happened there. It's just poor defence, really.
Poor defence, but it give it to Parramatta. They did fight their way back into this game. And with 2 tries of their own in quick success. 12-6 at half time with the Abbey Church try. Parramatta's only points. But the second half, they really stepped it up.
They certainly did. And when they scored the 2 quick tries in succession, that really brought the game into like a grandstand finish. It did put the Roosters, the Eels, in front for about 10 minutes or 8 minutes to be precise before the Roosters crossed over again. But it all come down to a field goal. Eels did have 2 shots at it, but both waved away.
The biggest call of the game involved Isabel Kelly. Roosters up 12 points to 6. Or maybe it was 12-all, I think, by this point. But she races 70 metres to score a try, only for the bunker to take a look at the contact to see if there was a knock-on. They find one. Moments later, and I think this is where the Tiana Penitani try comes in. And as Pete Pasolda said in the Channel 9 commentary, that's a 12-point try. From conceding at one end of the field to then suddenly going back down 30 metres out from the Roosters' line, and then scoring a try to lock the score, or to jump to the 18-12 lead. But this is where my standout player of the match was Sarah Togatuki. Brute strength, much as you like, 1 try, 133 running metres, 5 tackle breaks, and an offload.
Very good performance put in by her right there. That's what they needed, really, to keep going through the game. And she was the best one out there.
Oh, clearly, and set up the match conditions for Zahara Tamara to ice that match-winning field goal with only 3 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, look, it was a grandstand finish, really. It will come down to the wire. Being there, watching the game live, it was edge of the seat stuff. It could have gone either way.
Definitely after Parramatta got themselves back into that game in the second half, but they just could, again, discipline let them down with both Hill Moana and Togatuki both crashing over at close range, one of them untouched, the other somehow managing to contort her body to get that ball down.
Yeah. It's amazing what these professional athletes can do.
So I would think goal line defence, big priority for the Eels. But other than that, that bounce, you take those 2 poor tries they conceded out. Only 1 try was practically unlucky. The other 2 could have been manageable. Also, I wouldn't be too disheartened if I were the Eels. But I'll tell you who will be disheartened. The Newcastle Knights. After getting slapped around by St. George Illawarra, 40 points to 4. 10 tries to 1.
9 tries.
9 tries to 1. Fine. If you wanted to be technical. But it's basically the score ratio 10 to 1.
Pretty much. The only thing that let the Dragons down was the conversion rate. 1 from 9 attempts.
Oh, that was bad. Your conversion rates were absolutely shocking.
But if the conversion rate was 100%, Dragons would have had 56 points.
56 points in the match.
So the only kicks we got was a penalty goal and 1 conversion. And the Dragons had like 3 to 4 different goal kickers throughout that match.
Rachel Pearson being one of them. Holly Wheeler at lock forward, stepping up.
Yeah, she got one conversion, the only conversion, and a penalty goal. But it didn't look like the Dragons were in and out first, with Autumn Rain Stevens Daly scoring the first try and the only try for Newcastle in the 6th minute.
And since then, it was an hour and 4-minute avalanche of the Red V. No, seriously, this was an avalanche. How many times did you see the Knights trying to rush up in defence, only that their edge is exposed, and then you had Pearson and Fui Mayona just like, all right, so you rushed up, your edge is exposed, okay. And they're like to Maddie Bartlett and Tegan Berry, here, have a try.
Exactly.
Here, have a second try.
Pretty much.
None of you get a hat trick, though.
Yeah.
Because they're selfish. No, I'm joking. They're not selfish. But
So, Maddie Bartlett got 2 tries. Tegan Berry got 2 tries. Jermaine Chapman got 3 tries. Emma
Tonagato
got 2 tries. So, the only one that didn't get 2 tries was Paige McGregor. What an outstanding performance, though.
Tonagato, personally, I thought was a stand-up. Scored 2 tries herself, including that one from the knock-on, right at the death of the game. Set up 2 tries as herself. 193 running meters, broke the line twice, 6 tackle breaks in what was just 2016 Knights balsa wood. Very poor quality.
Yeah.
It was just like, you chop through on the flanks, you score. And with that beautiful pass selection from Talia Fui Mayona, I think I got that right.
Yeah.
Just beautiful passes, this crisp looping ball that goes out to the wing, and then Maddie Bartlett stepping back on the inside. If she can't just dive for the try line.
Yeah. Look.
Nowhere to go for the Knights' defence. Yeah. Either side of the field.
Just looking back at the try scorers now, it was the Dragons' fullback, the 2 winners, the 2 centres that scored all the tries. So the back five
getting in there.
Scored all the Dragons' tries. I don't know if I've ever seen that before across both NRLW and NRL men's.
Well, you were just talking to me before we came on here. They have now got the highest winning margin in the 4 seasons of the National Rugby League women's competition, beating out the Brisbane Broncos in 2018 when they beat St George Illawarra 30 points to 4.
Yeah. In a way, there's a bit of irony in it. The Broncos did it to the Dragons, and the Dragons went over the top and beaten the Broncos' record. So there's a bit of irony here in it, but not much.
Well, this has got to be the most dominant performance in the women's game to date, and it just happened to be the biggest blowout scoreline.
Yes. I was one very, very happy camper. It puts the Dragons on top of the NRLW ladder for the first time this season.
We'll see how long that stands for, considering the Brisbane Broncos, again, would probably be nipping at your heels, so it'd be interesting to see how you can back up after that incredible high.
Yeah, it would be very, very interesting to see, but we only have to wait for a matter of days before it happens.
Well, we'll see how that pans out at the end of it all. Now, we got to move on to more immediate business. That, of course, is the 5th and final round of the NRLW. Now, depending if you're looking at this on the mobile or the desktop version of the ladder, it's either the top 2 or the top 4 that go through. You decide which one's the real one. I've given up trying to figure out which way it is.
I believe it's the top 4. So let's just say top 4 for now.
Yeah, I find that pretty stupid for a top 6. But anyway, Broncos-Eels is the first game of round 5.
Sure about that?
I've had some... actually, no.
It's the Dragons-Roosters.
Dragons-Roosters, yes. Thank you for pointing it out. Those 2 are the double headers. So, actually, as it turns out, Dragons via Roosters, the standalone game at Netstrata Jubilee Stadium.
Look, Jeff Surgis is back against her old club for the first time, with Kaylee Joseph out with COVID, also being named to return. Bridie Parker is back on the win with Yasmin Meeks shifting to the forwards, and Sam Economos is out after head knock last week.
A couple of changes for the league-leading Dragons, I can correctly say at that point. Going to Leah Holmes, been named to return from a hand and injury. Cody House dropping back to the bench with Janelle Williams and Tegan Dimmick both back in the 7 team. At this stage, Rachel Pearson has been named to start despite the lower back injury with Renee Target, Aliti Namose and Alex Salusi all moving back to the reserves.
Basically, if the Roosters want to make the finals, they have to win this game.
Oh, they have to win this game.
Although it's going to be a tough ask coming up against the Dragons.
It's especially a tough ask after they had to ground out a win against the Eels just this Sunday gone.
Yes.
While the Dragons,
Had it easy.
1 hour and 10 minutes later, just breezed their way to victory.
Yeah. It was an easy victory for the Dragons. Being at the Strata, I don't think NRLW has been played there before. I could be wrong. So on the assumption that it hasn't been, it's a new ground for both new ground for NRLW, but not for the
Well, it's
Dragons.
practically the Dragons' first home game of the year, but proper
Second.
home game of the year.
Because the first one was Wollongong in round.
Yeah, that's a bloody rip-off. The Dragons get 2 home games in 5 rounds, whereas everyone else only gets 1.
Newcastle got 2.
Oh, yeah, that's
round
true.
1 and round 4.
Oh, yeah, that's probably true as well, yeah.
They'll obviously fix that up heading into the next couple of seasons with the addition of the 2 new teams. So, anyway.
That we still don't know who it's going to be yet.
I think we've got until June before.
July, I think.
July, we'll find out. So we'll keep you posted.
Well, at this stage, you're right. It is the first time they are playing at Cogra. Though I would think no bearing on how the result pans out.
What do you mean? You're saying the Dragons to win?
I don't... Well,
Is that what you're saying?
I mean, it will be a new experience, nothing short or coming to Cogra, and there will probably be massive respect for Norm Proven at this game as well. Probably not, but...
No, they did do it in round 1, and I believe at the other matches so far this season.
The big thing for me is I think the Roosters need to seriously look at the lessons Newcastle suffered and learn from those lessons. If they want to, they need to go at Fui Maono and Page early rather than get them into good ball space where they got the overlap. Don't rush up, but at the same
Put
time,
pressure on
the halves before they can get an overlap go. But at this rate, even if Jess Surges comes back and puts in a woman of the match performance, I just think the Dragons. I think you're right. I think the Dragons are too strong for this game. I think Tonagato, she gets some room up the middle of the field, she's going to take off. I think the Dragons win this 7-12.
Well, depending on how Jess Surges goes, because she's coming up against the old club for the first time. She's been in and out of the side all year long, or all season long, I should say. I'm going to have to go with the Dragons. The Roosters will give it a run, give the Dragons a run, but based on what the Roosters have been doing this season, they haven't been there. They've been a bit disappointing in my view. Dragons to win 7-12.
Yeah, I think St George Illawarra will probably lock up the minor premiership for the first time in the club's short history. Now, moving on to the first of the doubleheader at Suncorp Stadium. The Gold Coast Titans against the Newcastle Knights, and a couple of changes for the Knights. Jamie Freshard and Uatilla are both back in the side. Have been named, I should say, but despite leaving the field with injuries last week. Georgia Page is back after missing that clash due to concussion, while Nagato Kotoro Arakua returns to the bench via the way of returning from suspension.
In Gold Coast news, Evina Pelletier, I think that's correct, he's been ruled out with an ankle injury. So Shania Powell shifts to the centres with Tiana Raffstron-Smith moving to the edge. Grace Griffin is back in the halves with Kobe Jane Morgan moving into the interchange alongside April
Nagato Puna.
Thank you. Georgia Hale is missing this match on an early guilty plea for a crusher tackle last week.
Titans, straight up.
Yeah.
13 plus. Newcastle have shown, in my estimates, from what I have seen, Newcastle have shown nothing.
They did look promising in round 1. They said, oh, here we go, but that's pretty much the cost they've had to a victory all season.
They challenged the Broncos, didn't get up over the top. Not Parramatta.
Parramatta week 1,
Eels week 1. Broncos round 2, who they lost, leaving. Oh yeah, and then of course they lost to the Roosters at the SCG.
and also lost to the Dragons last week.
They're going to be wooden spooners. There's nothing sure. So
It's unfortunate because they showed what they are capable of in round
the
1.
Brayley Nut, Artie couple, very strong on both at halfback and at dummy half. The leadership of Steph Hancock in the middle of the field, coming back out of retirement. And then some of that younger talent, like, veterans, I think. Jasmine Peters, I think, is a veteran. But even younger up-and-comers like Destiny Brill. Too strong, I think, Gold Coast will be. And I think with a win, they will play finals in their first year.
Yeah, I have to agree there. Titans to win. I'm going to say just in the 13-plus bracket.
Just in the 13
Just
plus.
in the 13-plus bracket.
And finally, from round 5, it's the Brisbane Broncos up against the Parramatta Eels.
Parramatta's team news is unchanged.
Whilst for the Broncos, some big it's in the form of Tamika Upton, Millie Boyle, and Emily Bass, all named to return. Maddie had Hayley Maddock back to the bench, and China Pilata back to the reserves, alongside Lisa Mata-Arthur, having both made their debuts last week. And of course, Amber Hall back on the edge with Talisha Harden to come off the bench. Now, this one's going to be the real interesting clash.
It certainly would be, but Broncos getting Tamika Upton, Millie Boyle, and Emily Bass are massive inclusions for what could be the deciding game for the minor premiership.
Depending if St. George Illawarra lock things away with their for and against, I don't see the Broncos running up a big scoreline here. And I think the Eels, the left edge combination, Vetti Welsh to Penatani, that's going to be one the Broncos really need to keep an eye on here.
Yeah, they certainly will be, and they know what they're capable of. And also, I believe it could be a battle for second too. So if Parramatta win big time...
So there's a home semi-final at stake here.
Yeah. So the points differential for the Broncos at the moment is 36 and Parramatta is a straight 0. So Parramatta will need to win by 37 or more.
Well, the return of Boyle sort of tips the scales that way, because now that pack, Boyle, Hall, Roxy Murdoch off the bench, it's a powerful 1-2-3 punch combo you got going there.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And then you got Brigginshaw Upton out the back. Anything can happen, but I think the Broncos will squeak away in a narrow victory, 1-6.
Yeah, so just getting back to it, the Dragons differential is 50. The Broncos is 36. So for the Broncos, the Broncos will want the Dragons to win by 14 or less, or the Broncos have to win 14 or more, depending on how the results go. So really, it's coming down to the last game. I'm gonna have to say Broncos to win in the 1-6 margin as well. It's gonna be a tough one, but
I think the Broncos
will edge Parramatta.
The Eels will need to heavily depend on a Roosters loss to keep their place in the top 4.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, this is going to be very close.
Yeah, it's coming down to the last round of the season.
So now moving on from the women to the men, and some interesting scorelines on reflection. The Melbourne Storm squeaking home against the Rabbitohs, 15-4.
Yeah, Melbourne had it in the bag, and it all changed in the last 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
I was sitting there thinking, what the hell? I mean, seriously, what was going on? Because Melbourne's right edge was on fire.
Yeah.
First with that try to Xavier Coates, that spectacular dive in the corner, and then moments later backing it up with an offload to Ryan Pappenhausen as in the score. Then you get Harry Grant busting up through the middle of the field, Cam Munster on his inside shoulder. Melbourne shoot it out to a 14-0 lead. It could have been 18 if they got goals else going their way, of course. And you think when Justin Olam, I think, scores in the second half, Melbourne could wrap this game up. That's when things start shifting.
Yes, it definitely starts shifting, and we don't get the grandstand finish. Beyond a grandstand finish. The first golden point game of this season.
Latrell Mitchell honestly pulled that game up by the scruff of the neck and said, "You're mine now." I mean, but seriously, Johnston goes over in the corner and you think, oh my God, what the hell's going on with Melbourne here?
Yeah.
Then it goes Jackson Paulo only 8 minutes later and you're thinking, what the hell? And then Campbell Graham scores again. And they can't nail any of their conversions between Mitchell and Jackson Paulo are both trying to take the shots at goal. Well, actually, it was only Mitchell always. So he can't nail a single conversion attempt. And with the edge defense of the Storm pulled out of shape either side of the field, only for Latrell to kick a 2-point field goal from the 40. And it's just like, what is this game? So you tell me, what is this game?
It was nuts. Like I said, Melbourne were in control and then slipped away. Like I said, when who would it have been? George Jennings? No. George Jennings was ruled out.
Iramia, if you're on that left edge.
Yes. When he was put into the bin, that's what changed the game on its head. And South were attacking that side of the field as you would, being a player.
And of course, they gave that room up for Johnston and to get that space down the right-hand side of the field.
Yeah. But I couldn't believe what I saw. It was like, hang on a second. Then Mitchell, with that 2-point field goal, really upped the ante.
And then Melbourne had a second sin in bin. It wasn't Iramia, it was Tapai Maroa that got binned before the damage is done.
Yeah.
But then Justin Olam goes up after Paulo scores, or in the same minute Paulo scores. And Campbell Graham gets an offload from Tane Milne, crashes over after beating probably 3 Storm players. 2-point field goal, and then it's golden point.
Yeah.
And Melbourne were up 14-0. Suddenly, a 28-0 swing against them almost.
I don't think Bellamy would have been happy about that.
Oh, he probably would have blown his top off. And probably off the Slater stand as well if he could get down there fast enough.
Probably.
Although I would have paid good money to see that.
It would have been good to see. But Alan Pappenhausen iced it with a field goal.
Owing to a Cody Walker knock-on, I'm pretty sure it was.
Yes, I believe so. What I can't get my head around is, why the hell did Harry Grant take 2 shots at goal?
I find that utterly bizarre when you had Pappenhausen there. Maybe the ankle wasn't right, but he still managed to get 1 from 1.
Exactly. So I don't know what the go was there. But anyway, it's something different.
Well, Xavier Coates was my standout man solely for that at work in the first half. The 1 try, now scoring in back-to-back games. 1 try assist, 96 run meters, and 2 tackle breaks. But I gotta say, the Rabbitohs just didn't have that polish to finish it off.
Not to start off with, no, or even during the whole game. But they were better than the week before, I think.
You think?
I don't know.
Well, that's a scary concept, but Melbourne were lucky to get away with that one, and Bellamy would have given them a good spray on full time. After they came back into the sheds, nothing sure.
Oh, yeah.
Spray them if they lose, spray them if they win.
But he would have been celebratory mode too.
He's just raised the bat for the 5th time.
Yes.
500 career wins to his name, which included, within that time, 3 legitimate premiership wins.
Yeah, true.
And 1 salary cap scandal later.
Yeah.
But, no, I think Melbourne were very lucky to get away with that, but they can't do that again.
No, they can't. They'll learn, they'll watch the video this week and get back to what we know with Melbourne like, and not letting leads slip away.
Hey, that will be the one thing you need to keep an eye on. Now, a bit of contention for you with this game in particular. The Penrith Panthers getting up 20 to point, ending the 16 winners over the Dragons, but it was not without its controversy.
What game is there without controversy? I mean, Melbourne Rabbits was no controversy. This one, there was plenty of it.
So walk us through it from your point of view.
Look, obviously not Parramatta.
Wrong game.
Penrith scored first and the Dragons followed after. So there was 6 all. Thought, here we go, we're going to give them a shot. And then Penrith absolutely ran away with it. That's with Jaden Sewer in the sin bin. So that's where...
Was this the one where Sean O'Sullivan stays down to milk the penalty for the HIA?
I believe so.
And then he had to get sent off the field for 2 minutes anyway because you're not allowed to do that.
No. That's why they got the independent doctor in the bunker. So that happened. So it was Penrith shot out to 20-6 at half time. But the Dragons did very, very well to hold Penrith scoreless in the second half. And Dragons put 10 points on themselves and could have maybe locked it up at 20 all if Lomax got the converted his own try to make it 20-18 and then maybe a later penalty goal late in the match, but ultimately it didn't happen. But overall, good performance by
the biggest moment of this game was the charge down. In the lead up to Viliami Kikau's second try, that was probably the biggest moment of the game, and he is, of course, my standout player of the match. 2 tries, 105 running meters, 4 tackle breaks, and 3 offloads in his 100th game in the NRL.
And that's a good way to cap it off with a double.
But,
and his family and friends were there too.
But you're right. He had a bit of a scare in the second half.
They very much did so, which I thought, oh, here we go. Dragons could do it, but it got closer and closer. We just made too many errors. I think the pressure was getting to us to try and win and get points on the board to overtake them. So I think that's what ultimately cost the Dragons.
Yeah, it was touch and go, but Penrith I would probably say the Panthers were very, very lucky to hold on.
Look,
even with the first half dominance.
Yeah, they made a fair few errors themselves, especially in the second half. The second half by both sides are pretty scrappy in my view. But only one team can win it, and that was Penrith.
So where did the Dragons go, considering they've actually lost Andrew McCulloch from this game? And with no other pure dummy half to speak of in the ranks.
Well, with Sullivan still out with no word when he's coming back or what the goal is there, he would have been the option, but the only really other option is most Mbai.
Yeah, you're leaving yourself very, very short with this. It could come back to bite you, it could not, who knows?
Have to wait and see, depending, like I said, how McCulloch's out for what? A while.
3 weeks, maybe more.
And then Sullivan, we just don't know what the go is with Sullivan.
Well, you better sort that out soon. Someone that isn't going to get things sorted out in the meantime, the Manly Sea Eagles, after crashing to back-to-back losses in an embarrassing display against the Roosters, 26 points to 12. Look, the Roosters jumped out to a 4-try lead in the first half alone.
Yeah.
When
I saw that, I thought, right, Manly it's going to be hard for Manly to come back, and it proved that they didn't come back. So that's 2 losses in a row with Tommy Turbo.
And both by big margins, leaving them anchored at the bottom of the ladder, although it's really no indication in the future performance for the Sea Eagles. But the Roosters were ruthless, to say the least.
Put it this way, they weren't what...
They weren't what they showed in round 1, that's
exactly.
for sure, against Newcastle. They were very much improved discipline-wise, and it did show on that front. 73% completion rate, not near Manly's 31 from 38, at 81%. But that completion rates and possession doesn't matter if you look at the scoreboard and say, hey, bitches, look at the scoreboard. We just flogged your ass.
Yeah, exactly. Look, if those stats showed that Manly were in a convincing win, then yes, but because they didn't, the stats don't matter. And Turbo, he didn't get much ball yet again either.
So it shows that the game plan that Melbourne and Penrith perfected was implemented also by the Roosters.
As well as whoever they played round 1.
I said that. Melbourne and Penrith.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, don't worry. But yeah.
And you wonder why I leave you in the freezer.
Yes.
Yeah, so... And the way Manly conceded some of these tries. Hutchinson from dummy half. And then Nat Butcher, who I thought had a very good game for the Roosters. 2 tries, 134 running meters with 2 tackle breaks. Manly were just embarrassed in and around the ruck, and they didn't look like they even had any real attacking options.
No, they didn't at all. Like the tries coming from Dylan Walker. No, Dylan Walker.
Sam Walker.
No, Manly.
Oh, Carl Lawson.
Carl Lawton, sorry. I thought Dylan Walker nearly went over, but a quick play, and Carl Lawton dived to his left. So that put them at least on the scoreboard.
At least they tried in the second half, at least one of their tries. His quick hands, ball comes out to Garrick. He's looking only at Tedesco to beat, puts the kick back onto the inside, and Sherry Evans is there to clean things up. But other than that, Manly were just thoroughly embarrassed again.
Yes, so they either need to change the game plan, or they need to try and figure out something else. Like there's something not right there with Manly.
Well, we know what they're capable of, but right now they are nowhere near that same side that went 16-4 to the top 4 and the preliminary final.
No, they're not at the moment, but there's still 3 weeks to go?
Yeah, but time can run out pretty quickly, so get going, Manly.
Yep, but like they said, like I said last week, I know they didn't have Turbo last year for the first 4 matches and went 0-4 them when that
But
run.
the problem is they've had Turbo for the first 2 and they haven't been able to do anything.
Exactly, so whether or not he's not up to scratch himself, or they know how to shut him down. Teams know how to start shutting him down.
And well, not the only ones, but we'll see how far that goes from this point moving forward. As for the Roosters, good bounce back performance.
Yes.
Only 1 try they conceded where they actually had some shape in it. But other than that, a major turning point, or major turnaround, I should say. Yep, I think they'll look to kick on from this point.
Yeah, I have to agree. Roosters generally start slow and they start picking up the pace as the season progresses through.
Now, talk about progression. The Gold Coast Titans narrowly beating the New Zealand Warriors 20 points to 18.
What a game this one was.
I'll tell you what, the Titans weren't dicking around. They were just like, hey, you know what? Let's just start throwing the ball around early, and it paid off. I think within the first minute, Beau Fermor already had his name on the try scorers board.
Yeah, it did not take long for Gold Coast to score at all. I don't know what the hell the Warriors are doing. Was it off an error, or was it a...
No, they just shifted early.
Did the Warriors kick off, or did the Titans kick off?
Warriors kicked off, and the Titans, within the first minute, already had them on the ropes.
Yeah, so... That's not a good start when you let a player like Beau Fermor score on the 46th second.
And he's got a bit of speed behind him as well. Everyone was looking at David Fafita thinking, all right, when's Fafita going to break into the backfield with this? And quite fair, I didn't really see that much out of David Fafita. Oh, he had that good try assist, but I think that's all he really had. He didn't.
Well, he got put on report.
Yeah, that's the other concern as well. The big name player. But this was Fafita's stats here. 8 for 69 run meters, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, 3 tackle breaks, and no offloads.
Which is very un-Dave Fafita-like.
This is probably the lowest numbers we've seen for a while. But you look at Beau Fermor, on the other hand, and who had a much better game on the other side of the field. 1 try, 173 running meters, 5 tackle breaks, and if we can just drag across... And actually had the offload, but I'll tell you what... the Titans like having their players score doubles or hat-tricks in quick succession. Get a load of this one. My standout, Greg Marju. 2 tries, 222 running meters, 11 tackle breaks.
Wow.
This man could not be stopped.
No, he certainly couldn't be. And he's got reasonable size on him too for a winner, but he was unstoppable. He had a brilliant game.
And also, we had to keep in mind, Reece Walsh, first game of the season. How would you rate that in a losing side?
He was quiet. That's all I can say. He was pretty quiet. It was there and thereabouts, but not at his peak where we have seen him at his when he made his debut.
But the 1 try assist, 5 tackle breaks, 100% with the T, almost 200 running meters, and 1 offload. Do you think that's quiet? What would you say is a good Reece Walsh performance?
Well, scoring a try maybe would have been, or setting up. Wait, how many tries? Did you have any try assists?
1. He had 1. I just mentioned it.
Yeah, so he usually has 2 to 3 try assists, so that's a bit of a disappointing. But it was somewhat successful, I would say. But he can do better. But
Warriors,
first game back from injury.
Yeah.
It's a bit
suspension.
Suspension,
but the Warriors had an uneasy second half lead, which evaporated practically within the first 20 minutes of the second half or third quarter, because they had that heat protocol all in place. Philip Sami goes over in the quarter. That's practically all she wrote, even with Toby Sexton's inability to convert the last 2 tries. So the Titans were able to defend for 20 minutes.
Without conceding another try.
And believe me, I think the Warriors threw a fair bit at the try line at the back end of that second half.
They definitely did, but Gold Coast stood up to pressure.
Only just.
Yes, just.
Us, because it went very, very close.
Yes.
But
it did.
At the result, I think Justin Holbrook, step in the right direction, really needs to ice games a whole lot better than what they did it against the Warriors, to say the least.
Yeah, that's definitely true indeed.
And speaking of iced games, the Cronulla Sharks, first game at PointsBet Stadium in 2 years, with a narrow 18-16 win over the Parramatta Eels. Look, I gotta say, I think the Sharks got lucky with this one. I genuinely think the Sharks got lucky.
Yeah. And
Parramatta, from what I was seeing, the Eels were the far better side. They had, and to be fair, they had 2 chances in the first half denied, with Mitchell Moses' kicking game absolutely on fire. They could have been up 12-0 before the Sharks even said boo.
Pretty much. But I don't know what happened there, though. But, yeah, Parramatta were the better side, but somehow the Sharks pulled it out of nowhere. And after the siren, mind you, to have the victory.
It was just to the point where I thought Parramatta, they were genuinely unlucky in that first 40 minutes. It's tackled in the air, but they could have got a goal line drop up out, which is unfortunate, but those are the rules. And then the second try I disallowed to Bailey Simonson, where he already had his foot in touch, or the ball was already grounded in touch.
The ball was already grounded in touch.
Yeah, that one was also unfortunate. That was a game of millimetres on that one.
Mulatalo was coming across, so yeah.
And unfortunately, the Sharks, to their credit, I should say, they made Parramatta pay. Yeah, okay? To sneak away with that 8-6, it could have been 8-0 lead between Mulatalo and Katoa's try, but they didn't even bother trying to wrap up Ronaldo Mulatalo.
No.
That was just soft.
It certainly was there, and you can't let someone like Mulatalo score like that. Like, you need to be hard and try and stop him, because he's a player that is hard to stop.
It definitely is, but Parramatta managed to rally back. Mitchell Moses, now I got to feel sorry for Mitch, because he really copped it in that game.
He certainly did.
Off the chip kick try he scored, to then Teague Wilton taking him out mid-air, and that could have gotten real dangerous.
Yeah, it could have. So, no wonder Teague Wilton got put on report for that tackle.
But I will say, Nico Hines, despite his terrible goal-kicking prowess this night alone, he was the standout for the Sharks. 114 running meters, 1 try assist, 3 offloads, a goal line dropout, and even though he missed 3 conversions, the 1 in 4 that he did get was the one that mattered most.
You read my mind. I was just about to say that.
I'll tell you what, I was cursing at the TV. As a second, with the Parramatta Eels, I've adopted them as my second team behind the Bulldogs. I, of course, was supporting Parramatta in this game. When that short ball from Matt Moylan to Teague Wilton, crash over, despite the challenge, I think, from Gufferson, to still contort his body to get that ball down, it was like, I was going ballistic. Genuinely, I was not happy with that. I thought Parramatta were just going to squeak home here, 16-12. Nope, 16 all. And I was like, oh my God. Nico Hines has not nailed a goal to save his life all game, and this is going to be the one he nails when it matters most. And so sure enough, there it was.
So his nickname is Clutch, could you say?
Clutch Hines. Well, I think Beans means Hines, and I think the Sharks are counting Beans at the moment. That was terrible. I probably shouldn't have said it, but feck it. I did.
Yeah, exactly. I have to say...
But yeah...
Mitch Moses' try was bloody on song. That was a brilliant lead-up work.
He dragged Parramatta back into that, and the support play from Reed Marnie with that combination between Brown and Lane, that was also some good source moments from the Eels.
Yeah, which is...
Because he feeds the ball to Brown, hits Lane through a hole, Lane gets into the backfield, only Kennedy to beat, and then Marnie probably spins, 10, 20 metres to catch up and back up? I like that. I really like that.
Yeah, look, so just from saying all that, Parramatta were, and even watching the game, Parramatta were the better side, and they should have won that match. But Clutch Hines decided to have other thoughts.
He definitely did, and not easy when your next opponent's the Melbourne Storm, but we'll touch more on that very shortly. Now, shifting from Cronulla to Townsville, the Cowboys. The Cowboys, 26-6 winners over the Canberra Raiders.
Canberra were disappointing.
Never looked like
No.
Like they could turn things around. And the Cowboys, they just ran off with it.
They certainly did, which is a good booster, confidence booster for them, considering they didn't do as well in round 1. But they bounced back really good.
It was just an onslaught. Even when the score's delicately poised at 8-6, the final half an hour was absolutely atrocious from the Canberra Raiders.
Yes, try. Pretty much.
It's absolutely disappointing.
Plus Hudson Young going in a sin bin.
Which didn't help.
No.
Which led to 2 tries as well. Well, 1 try and then that unbelievable take from Jeremiah Nanai, a back rower by trade, but with the athleticism of someone like Kyle Felt or Xavier Coates, scoops that ball up and plonks it down next to the posts.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. That by Nanai. Nanai, sorry. I know you just said it, but my bad. That's back rowers and even front rowers are getting more and more athletic nowadays.
Well, second rowers, I think in particular. I mean, Kurt Capewell, Liam Barton, they're probably the most athletic second rowers you can find.
Yeah, but Nanai, again. Nanai, he's probably the most athletic, one of the most athletic front rowers.
Second
rower, sorry.
You're having a real hard time getting fact checked right here, right now. I mean, I know we're not exactly perfect like the actual professionals, but we're still trying our damn best.
Yes, we are. So I need to perfect mine a little bit more.
But look, I think the big headline out of this game, apart from Chad Townsend actually playing good for the Cowboys,
yes,
was Jason Taumalolo.
Yeah.
161 running meters, 2 tackle breaks, and 25 tackles without a single miss. One ineffective, but no misses.
Where's that been? He has not played like
He
that.
carried the
in
Cowboys
months.
to that. And of course, they tried that awkward comedy sketch of, you're going to get sacked first. Oh no, mate, you're going to walk away with 10 other clubs trying to find a way to have $5 million saved up.
Pretty much.
But North Queensland needed that. For the context of their season, they needed that win.
Yes.
Very early on, because it's still going to be a long year for them, but at least they'll silence critics for now. I still have very low hope and expectation for North Queensland.
Yeah, so I still reckon they're going to finish 15th, but look, that win was good for them to get 1-1 to start off the year at home, so it's better than 0-2 to start off at home or end the season as well. So
a lot of criticism going up against Jack Whiten, and because I think running game and his long passes were sort of criticised in this one. When I can't remember if it was Brandy Alexander or Michael Ennis making the point, or maybe even Paul Kent on the NRL 360 desk, that Whiten needs to really start developing his skill set.
yeah,
Shorter balls, probably a more astute kicking game, and not trying to rely on taking the line on. I mean, still run, but try and be more unpredictable.
Yeah, he's kind of doing the same things over and over again, and not really.
Teams have figured him out.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it's come down to.
But would you say that the Raiders have crashed back down to reality?
Probably too early to say on at this point in time. Maybe a week or two, I might have a view on that. So get back to me on that one.
But I think it will also be interesting to see if the Cowboys will come crashing back down after that that big win.
Well, yeah.
And high wins indeed and is celebrated in the Hunter as the Newcastle Knights go 2-0 after dismantling the West Tigers 26 points to 4.
What did I say? Sunday afternoon in Newcastle, which is always a good
With a
sign.
crowd of 23,000 Novocastrians.
Yeah. It was a brilliant atmosphere. Every time the Knights scored or something went their way, the crowd were very, very happy as well. Good to hear the Newcastle chant going back around saying it was absolutely brilliant.
The Knights were in charge from start to finish. That plain and simple they were.
Tigers were absolutely nowhere. They made way too many errors.
There's been recent blow-up ever since last night that Dane Laurie and James Roberts were spotted playing the pokies at, I believe, at the Great Northern Hotel in Newcastle.
Not 100% sure where, but yes, I did hear about that as well.
So, is this a nothing story, or is this a concern, considering out at 10 p.m, playing the pokies, then turning up Sunday, and your team gets absolutely smashed?
I mean, it's a bit of a hard one to make a call. Like, does it really matter what they do on the game night before, like the night before game day?
Well, if you ask the Broncos 2019, it sort of did. But that was their worst defeat in club history and the worst performance by any side in the finals.
True, but I mean, players should be allowed to able to do whatever they want to do.
As responsible adults.
Within reason, I should say. But, what was it, 10 p.m. you said?
Yep.
See, I know they're adults and, should be mature enough to know what they should and shouldn't do on the night before game day. I don't know. I don't think there needs to be a big deal made out of it.
But as for Newcastle, I got to say, Dominic Young keeps getting better and better. I don't see, and you know what? I don't actually see a way Heimel Hunt breaks back into this Knights backline.
No, Dominic Young here, outstanding game. Another person, I don't know.
And the resilience of Newcastle, sorry for cutting you off, but the resilience of Newcastle, after Ponga got ruled out earlier in the week, then losing Clemmer mid-game.
Clemmer didn't even start.
Clemmer was ruled out as well.
Yep.
So they lost Clemmer as well. So then you had this rookie bench, Tex Hoy,
At fullback.
very lucky to still have a top 30 contract at Newcastle after it looked like he would have been on the outer.
Yeah.
And now, just a perfect performance, rarely troubled.
Yeah, no, they were really troubled. They were just in control. I have to say, I haven't got the stats with me, but I don't do this often, but my standout play was Jake Clifford. Closely followed by Tyson Frizzell.
So you think Clifford and Frizzell were standouts in this game?
Oh, I mean, Clifford was awesome off the... Well, I was going to say he missed 3 conversions. No.
Yeah.
3 conversions. But scoring that try straight out the box. And then Frizzell, who nearly had a double.
Nearly, you say?
Well, they were running downfield towards the northern end of the stadium. It was just, well, not sure, he was back a bit, but he could have gone if he had the legs and that. And even down on the southern end in the second half, he could have gone in there too. But both of them, to me, had really great games.
All right. Well, I've personally gone with Dane Gagai.
Yes,
I think he was very close to getting picked last week for me. But I went with Clifford. This week, I do go with Dane Gagai. 1 try assist, 163 running meters, 11 tackle breaks, like Marju, and 1 offload. But I got to say, that spectacular try he set up for Dominic Young in the corner.
Yeah, that was absolutely brilliantly
That Newcastle right edge is really starting to flourish with Clifford, Frizzell, Gagai, and Young at this point.
Forgot about Dane Gagai. Yes, I add him in there too. His return to Newcastle and the fans absolutely loved him having back. When I was going through at the stadium, going through the team list, there was a big roar for Dane Gagai.
Yeah,
He's a fan favourite.
So no ill feelings then for ditching them for South. They're probably just happy he's back now.
Yeah, pretty much. I believe, or how I see it, for the Tigers, controversy.
Go on.
Stefano Oitokamano's try was awarded. Then as Jackson Hastings was getting ready to take the conversion, Ben Cummins, the referee, decided to blow the whistle to stop play. And they reviewed the try, and apparently he knocked on while scoring the try. Now, looking at the big screen on the day, there was a bit of sun reflection. It looked like he hadn't dropped it. Watching back again between Sunday and today, it was a very, very 50-50 call, but I would have kept it as a try for the Tigers and Oitokamano. But anyway.
So you think the Tigers were robbed, and when and abouts was this in the game?
It was... the result was beyond doubt. Like, Newcastle had all done it all. About the 61st minute of the match.
So with 20 minutes to go, that could have sparked a late comeback.
I highly doubt a comeback. But they could have had at least 12 points on the board, better than 4. Because Hastings, I would have presumed, got that kick. So 10, 12 points at least.
Well, speaking of Hastings, not a good look for him with that spear tackle.
No, he is missing 3 weeks. That's been confirmed.
Was named, so that just makes things even tougher for the Tigers now that they've lost their only competent half.
Because he challenged it and was unsuccessful, so 3 weeks.
Should have just taken the hit. Well, that's another L for the Tigers, and Michael Maguire probably inching closer to sacking.
Yep, I believe so.
Now, 2 coaches that probably won't get sacked in the near future.
Well,
Trent Barrett and Kevin Walters, but it is the Brisbane Broncos. Controversially or not, you will say, 16 points to 10 winners over the Canterbury Bulldogs in the final game of round 2.
4 at half time, I thought, oh, here we go. I knew this game was maybe a close match. I was hoping the Bulldogs to go back to back, but that didn't pay off. But I mean, there was a bit of controversy yet again. Do you care to explain this time round?
Oh, where do I start? Both the Herbie Farnworth tries. And I will say, Herbie Farnworth was the standout man of the match. 2 tries, 262 running meters, 1 line break, and 3 tackle breaks. These numbers completely contrast to what Katoni Staggs did on the right-hand side of the field. But the controversy. First, the first try he scored with the supposed one-on-one strip. Yeah, I'm not convinced that was a one-on-one strip. I think there was... I don't know if it was Albert Kelly or Jordan Rickey still in the tackle. Oh no, it would have been Kurt Capewell. But that try, that's just said to me, dodgy. Then the second try, where Corey Oates runs a supposed obstruction line, only for the NRL to say, nah, we're good with the referee's judgment that no Bulldogs were impeded in the run chase.
That was bullshit.
I couldn't believe it. I genuinely couldn't believe it. Pure obstruction, plain and simple.
Yeah.
And Trent Barrett wasn't happy with it. And to be fair, I would believe him on that. He's just like, I don't teach my players to take a dive. After tonight, maybe I should teach them to dive, because then we might get the penalty.
Possibly. I'd say one spectacular lead-up, which ultimately was probably maybe the greatest no try of all.
Adam Reynolds to Katoni Staggs.
Through the legs. We've seen
the NFL style.
We have seen a try being successful with a pass through the legs. I believe it was the Gold Coast Titans. I can't remember against who and who scored, but I'm pretty sure Gold Coast was involved through the legs and straight into the corner. But I'd say that one too, was it Katoni Staggs?
Yep.
Greatest, maybe. It's been dubbed as
one of the more spectacular no tries you'll ever see this year.
Yes. If not in history of the NRL.
I don't think so. There have been bigger disappointments. Glenn Fisher-Yahi in the Holden Cup 11 years back against Souths.
Yeah, true.
That was probably the greatest no try of all time.
Yeah, right.
But I will say, and the more bizarre moment, well, not bizarre because he earned it, but Corey Oates, his 100th try off this wonky-looking Albert Kelly chip kick. It's like, it went pear-shaped, and Oates still managed to catch it on the full and score the Broncos' first try of the night.
Yeah. It wasn't the best, but he got there in the end.
Yeah. And kudos to Adam Reynolds. He did what the Broncos expected of him. Just ice the game, calm it down, and come away with the win.
Yep. It showed that Adam Reynolds being at Brisbane has, like, compared to week 1, it has made a bit of a difference already. So, is it on the up for the Broncos? So let's have to wait and see what happens in the coming weeks before we get into it too much, I should say.
Well, he definitely took the pressure off Brisbane, and they were able to come away, despite the Bulldogs trying to throw everything at them in the second half.
Yeah, but...
just able to defuse that in the final moments and to secure the win for the Brisbane Broncos, and starting off their season 2-0 for the first time since 2020, but we all know what happened after that.
It went downhill.
Yeah, we'll see what happens this time round, but I don't see it happening again. Now, round 3. He's starting off with the St. George Illawarra Dragons and Cronulla Sharks in the Gong. Walk us through the Sharks lineup.
Let's see. The Sharks have got Mac Ikuvalu coming in for Mulatalo, who's out with a head knock, and Talakai is starting in place of a suspended Teague Wilton.
After that dangerous throw on Moses.
Yes. And Brandon Trindle is the new man on the bench after coming back from a 2-game suspension for a high tackle in the trials.
Bit of shuffling going around here for Anthony Griffin's side, with no Andrew McCulloch available. Moses Mbai is promoted to start at dummy half. Tarek Sims maintains his place at lock 4 with Jack DeBellin on the bench. Jack Gajewski the new man on the bench in place of George Burgess after the charge of alleged sexual touching was locked in earlier last night. So we got Jack, Josh, Jackson, and Jack all on the bench for the Dragons.
Yeah, it's going to be...
DeBellin, Kerr, Ford, Gajeski.
Pretty much. This off-field drama with Burgess is not what the Dragons need this early on in the season, although it's better than the back end of the season.
Well, that is the
Just ask
truth.
us last year.
No overcooked steak this time.
No. Although...
Well, no barbecuing alone owned from anyone this time.
No, but it's another date with the police. Let's just say that. For the third time in what? For the third time in what? A few years?
4 years.
Yeah.
Now, getting away from the off-field drama, because we don't talk off-field, we talk on-field here.
Yes.
Or have we talked off-field drama in the past, or just... It's just what I say goes, really.
Pretty much.
Well, that can change week to week. But now, looking on this game, and right here, this is a real 50-50 game.
Yes and no. The performance that the Dragons did against Penrith was...
Commendable, despite all
it
the
was
controversy
better than,
against them.
Yeah, I knew the Dragons would have given a run, but I did tip the Dragons to win that one. But I thought, and Penrith ended up winning overall. But the Sharks, they weren't the best. They were good, but Parramatta were definitely better side, like, as we mentioned. So I agree. This one's 50-50.
You're right. The Sharks did well, capitalising on the Eels' unluckiness. That's all they did. The Eels made the mistakes, and the Sharks punished them for it. But you do have to admit, Matt Moylan's really starting to come back into his own.
Yeah, look, I thought it was going to be Trindle and Hines until Trindle got suspended, and Matt Moylan was going to be out.
Moylan's just taking this with both hands, and Hines at halfback is really starting to get it going. But that's a big Dragons forward pack they got to deal with. And I know Fafita's probably the biggest man on the field. But the Bellin, Ford, Gajeski, as well as Tarek Sims in the middle of the field, I don't know. I really don't know.
Look,
But I think it'll come down to the kicking game if I had to make a pick.
goal kicking or attack kicking?
General play, if you can force a goal line dropout, if you can control the game, and I have to say I got to back Ben Hunt in on this one. I think Hunt versus Hines, I think the kicking game aim at the Dragons will keep the Sharks limited, and I think it will shut down. But, other important thing, Jesse Ramian, he's really starting to kick back in as a dangerous weapon. So if they can kick the game right and keep Ramian out of the game, I think the Dragons win this one 1-6.
I, believe it or not, I've actually gone against the Dragons. I'd say...
Which is completely like you.
No, I do say I did tip the Dragons for the first 2 weeks, and I did say I'll tip against them when I think so. I think this off-field drama with George Burgess won't help their cause at all. And without the experience that Benjamin McCarthy got, and by him, which I still don't think is a good signing, although he might be starting to prove me wrong a little bit, but still not keen on it. Connor Tracy, he's picked off where he left off. Like I said, Moylan, he's coming in very, very nicely. I'm actually picking the Sharks to win by a weird margin of 5.
A 5?
Yes.
So you
try and a field goal.
All right. Okay.
It doesn't happen often, but it can happen.
Well, it's probably weird that I'm tipping the Dragons when you're not. How many times has that happened?
Especially in a local derby, I don't generally go to Sharks. But I am this time. But I'll still be supporting the Dragons, but I'll just tip the Sharks.
That's always the case.
Yeah. You always support the team regardless of who you tip.
Now, this probably won't be the case with this next team right here. The West Tigers at home at Campbelltown to the New Zealand Warriors. One change for Nathan Brown's side. Ash Taylor is out, so Cody Nikorima has been named at halfback in the only real change for the homeless Warriors. Well, I mean, they are homeless.
Yeah, so for the Tigers, Tamau is back this week, although they said that last week, which moves Alex Toll to the bench, and Luke Garner has been promoted from 18th man to the starting side with Kilmar Tuolagi out after failing his HIA. Jacob Little is back at dummy half, pushing Simpkin to the bench. Alex Seyfarth and Tom McHale jumped to reserves. And as we know, Jackson Hastings is out for 3 weeks. I'm not 100% sure who will start in
Jock
this
Madden.
spot,
He's the only one.
but I'm predicting
Either
Jock
Peachy
Madden.
or Madden at 5'8", but I think Madden's the
I'd
more
say Jock
likely one.
Madden. Yeah, that's the only one I can think of.
Look, I feel sorry for Michael Maguire as much as the next guy. And losing Hastings will not help his cause even further. So that's enough. So he finally has all 5 captains together, and then he's going to have one missing for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah,
So he's down a captain. But he's still got...
4 others.
Oh no, wait. Oh no, that's right. Dewey was the other one. And so he had 4 of them. Now he's back down to 3.
3, yeah.
But one of them is Luke Brooks, and I'm just thinking, oh, end it now.
Yeah.
Just end
Look,
it.
Jackson Hastings has come back to the NRL and playing reasonable footy. And a side that,
Is shit.
well, they did really well against Melbourne.
But they didn't finish it off.
No, and they played absolutely horrible against Newcastle. But he's been one of the better players for the Tigers so far in his short season so far. He's been one of the better players. He's come back to NRL as a matured player compared to what he was at the Roosters and Manly.
Luke Brooks is not going to win you a game.
No.
And it's not going to happen here. I'm backing the Warriors 1-6. I think these are not ideally not 2 good sides going up about it. But at least with the Warriors, you know you got forward power in Fanua Blake and Matt Lodge. So Reece Walsh and Cody Nikorima can play off the back of that.
Yeah, I know that Jackson Hastings is out, but this game I believe could go either way, depending on what sides we get from each. We can get a good Tiger side and shit Warrior side, or vice versa. I'm actually going to go Tigers 1-6.
You're going the Tigers, I'm going the Warriors. Well, I think only one of us is going to
Precisely,
prove it,
the
right?
Tigers to win by 4.
Now, the main game of Friday night. It is the South Sydney Rabbitohs up against the Sydney Roosters.
Okay, so South Sydney, where we should have been getting Latrell back this week, but we're not. But anyway, before you get the South Sydney side underway, I'll get the Roosters one. Angus Crichton has been moved to the bench with Nat Butcher named to run on after a stellar performance last week. Connor Watson has been named starter dummy half with Hutchinson on the bench. Tupanua has suffered a HIA against Manly but has been named, and Joey Manu is expected to be playing this week.
A couple of shifting by Jason Demetriou. Jackson Paulo, after another unideal performance at centre, has been moved back to the wing with Tane being moved to left centre, and Liam Knight included on the bench against South Sydney, I believe at the expense of Michael Cheekham after that narrow loss to Melbourne. But look, the Rabbitohs are not the same side they were.
No, exactly.
Plain and simple. They're still missing Adam Reynolds. Cody Walker is not going to win a game. It looks like he's not going to win a game
No,
at this
he's
point.
been a bit disappointing since Adam Reynolds left. I thought he would have really stepped up, but he
And they
hasn't.
can't back on Latrell Mitchell to try and rescue them every week
Well,
when they're not performing well.
I'd say that might be what their plan was when he come back to try and rescue them, in jaws of defeat, against Melbourne. But form goes out the window in a game like this.
No, I think form... Usually, I'd say you're right, but I think this time, form is everything in this game. And right now, the Rabbitohs' form is not up to scratch. And the Roosters are now starting to build heavily into this. I think we're going to see what we saw in round 24 or of last year, but it's going to be on the reverse angle. I'm going to say the Roosters blow the Rabbitohs off the park. 13 plus.
I think you meant Joey Manu chopping Latrell Mitchell.
No. Joey Manu's not going to be doing anything to Latrell. He's just going to be bumping him off and scoring tries against him. That's what he's going to be doing. I'm going to say Joey Manu to score a try, beating Latrell Mitchell in defence. That's my big prediction right there. That's going to be a get that up here, Latrell.
Yeah, fair enough. Although they are good mates off field, so on field.
Oh yeah, what's a shadow draw between 2 good mates, eh?
Yeah. Look, I'm going to say Rabbitohs to win this one by 2 points. Like I said, form. I still believe form goes out the window, and South could produce something special here.
Well, speaking of special, I have to say this will be the game of the round. The Penrith Panthers versus the Newcastle Knights at Carrington Park. Both sides 2-0, and some big ins for the Knights. Captain Kalen Ponga is back at fullback, which pushes Hoy back to the reserves. Daniel Safiti will play his first game of the year, coming at the expense of David Clemmer. In the only two changes, along with no Lachlan Fitzgibbon, with Mitch Barnett named to start, and I believe Matt Croker maintaining his place in the side from last week.
Penrith, we see Nathan Cleary on a team sheet for the first time, although it's in the extended bench.
Given until Friday. That's the official word. Given until Friday to prove his match fitness.
He won't be back until round 4.
In the grand final rematch.
Yeah, that's when Cleary will be back. Toto is out with a knee injury, so his place is taken up by Taylor May. Fisher Harris
He's
been named, but he's been monitored as he suffered a muscular damage to his left shoulder.
So that will be interesting to see. But I now have to ask the question. Can the Panthers be the first side to break down Newcastle defensively after what we saw over the opening 2 weeks?
Well, I was going to say something very similar, although this game could put Newcastle back to reality.
It's a
real test.
It's a heavy possibility, I have to concede, but at the same time, even though it was against the Tigers, at the same time, they've also bumped off the Roosters, and really, the Knights' morale is rather high at the moment.
It is, but this is the first real big test for Newcastle.
And the Panthers were challenged by the Dragons at the back end when they shouldn't have been.
True.
This is game of the round, and I really think an honest question has to be asked here. Can Penrith be upset?
Well, we know what they're capable of without Cleary.
I mean, that's the big thing. And I think you're right. I think they'll be wanting to hold off on him just a little bit longer. But
they'll hold off on him. He'll be back next week with a grand final rematch.
Oh, nothing sure. So,
I know who I'm tipping.
Decisions. Because, you know what? I'm going to go back in the upset here. I just think the way Newcastle have been defending, especially against someone as fancy as the Roosters, and Penrith are probably equal to or greater than the Roosters, and the way they've been attacking, just if nothing's been working on one side, just throw it to the other, and the way the right edge has been going,
Penrith,
I got to give it to Newcastle here. I think they'll sneak away with a narrow 1-6 margin, and I think the Panthers won't be able to break them down.
Penrith have a good record at Carrington Park.
But you know what records are designed for?
To be broken.
Exactly.
I'm also back at Newcastle to win by 4 points.
I know it's a big
Newcastle
call, but I'm going
to
to
give Penrith a run for the money like the Dragons did. Although,
I think,
like I said, it could be a game where Newcastle gets put back to reality, but it's a big test for them.
but I honestly, I think at this point, I think Newcastle can cause an upset. They've already beaten the Roosters. What's not to say they could beat the Panthers? And
Exactly.
really stamp their authority early on.
Yeah, they could.
Now, the Melbourne Storm are back at home again for their second consecutive home game, this time up against the Parramatta Eels.
Parramatta lineup is Nathan Brown has been promoted back to the starting side, like with Oregon Kafusi going back to the bench. Jeremy Gregg comes onto the bench in place of Jake Arthur, who will be silent for the next 3 weeks.
As for the home side, a couple of big changes already. Harry Grant and Tyron Wishart both ruled out due to the spicy cough, forcing them into isolation as contact and household contact. So at this stage, I would think both Brandon Smith starts at dummy half and Jaden Nikorima added to the bench at this point in time.
Yeah, fair enough. This one's got another difficult game. It's going to be another brilliant game, but I know who I am leaning towards. Even though I've made these tips before, I saw the news about Grant and Wishart, but Melbourne's unstoppable. It's like Parramatta.
This is another game that really could go either way.
It's like Parramatta Bank West. They're somewhat unstoppable.
This is another game that could go either way because Parramatta have now won the last three clashes against Melbourne on the trot, including that big upset win against them at Suncorp Stadium, beating them 22 points to 10, and they were severely out of form and under strength.
That is very true. But once last time Melbourne got beaten, by Parramatta.
You have to go back a fair bit. Well, actually, 2017. That's as far back as you go, but that was during Origin.
Still, it's Melbourne getting beaten Melbourne.
We'll see.
It's going to be another clash of... Not clash of the round. A clash of the round is going to be all the Rabbits.
Mind you, I would be worried about how the Eels might respond after that narrow defeat, because teams that have a narrow defeat like that, they often don't respond well the following week.
And you've said that time and time again. And it is true, though. Even after 1 point losses, which what the Rabbitohs did cause last week, but anyway.
Ruck service could be an issue for Melbourne, especially because the Cheese is still recovering from a broken hand injury.
Yes.
I thought he might get named, and now that Harry Grant and Tyron Wishart be ruled out, but I think this...
Melbourne will have the depth, put it that way.
They'll find someone, Melbourne, but it's going to be close, to say the least.
Yeah.
I'm going to back the Storm, simply because it is in Melbourne, and I just think they will be much improved from what they showed against Souths on Thursday night. I genuinely think that. I think Parramatta, it will be another tough week for them, but I think they'll bounce back shortly. I still think this Eel side still has a lot to offer, and I think, like Brad Alpha said, might not be perfect for the first couple of rounds, but if they are top four by the back end, I think you wouldn't mind that, but still would want to come away with the win.
So you're saying Melbourne to win?
Yep.
In what margin?
1-6.
I'm going to say Melbourne to win by 12.
So you think it's going to be that much of a bigger win?
A little bit, but not much.
Now, the Canberra Raiders at home again, this time playing host to the Gold Coast Titans. And the good news for the Titans is, unchanged from the side that narrowly got up over the top of the Warriors, though shock new signing Jermaine Asako has been listed amongst the reserves.
Yes. Raiders, Nick Kotrick and Rapana return from a quad and suspension respectively, with James Schiller and Sebastian Chris dropping out. Brad Schneider is back and Matt Frawley goes back to the bench with Adrian Trevelyan to the reserves.
Even with the returning players bolstering the Raiders' back five and Brad Schneider back in the halves alongside Whiten, what's to stop the Titans here exactly?
I don't know. The Titans, they'll be very happy with what happened last week against the Warriors. The Raiders will need to try and bounce back after their massive defeat to Cowboys. Home ground, there's still no Jared Croker, which is a surprise.
Well, he's injured at the moment again.
So he got injured in the New South Wales Cup.
Yeah. Oh no, I just think started round one, then got injured.
Bugger. That's a shame because Raiders, I think, will start need to bring him back sooner rather than later because they're really starting to miss him, I think. Although in saying that, they do have good players in response to that, such as Seb Chris and all that. So, yeah, I reckon the Raiders are going to win this one over Gold Coast. I know the Gold Coast put in a good performance. But I'm going to say the Raiders to win this one by 8 points.
I'm not overly convinced by the Canberra Raiders after what I just saw. This was a massive reality check, to say the least. And I think the Titans, if they get their defense in order, I think they got enough attacking prowess, but they really need to get David Fafita on the ball. He terrorized them last time they made the trip down to Canberra, and I think they'll do it again. But at the moment, the Titans' confidence is running good.
I have to agree with you on that one.
I'm going to say the Titans win this one 7 points to 12.
Fair enough.
Now, moving on to the first of the two Sunday games is, of course, the Brisbane Broncos at home to the North Queensland Cowboys in the classic Queensland derby.
The Cowboys lineup is Ruben Cotter is on the bench in place of Mitch Dunn, who's out for the season with an ACL injury. Otherwise, no changes with Jermaine Tanua-Brown being named amongst the reserves.
And in good news for the home side, Kevin Walters is happy to name also an unchanged lineup, like Justin Holbrook. So the Broncos, Adam Reynolds will make his first home appearance of the season for Brisbane after missing out round 1. I'm expecting a good crowd for this, 40,000 at the very least.
Yeah, being a derby this earlier on in the season, it's going to be a good crowd, and for Adam Reynolds having his first Suncorp Stadium match this season, that will help bring the numbers in as well.
Oh, arguably so.
It's just who's going to have the better form going to the match. Cowboys will be booming high after that massive win over the
Raiders.
The Raiders, and the Broncos will be a bit. Well, they'll be looking to improve on their victory against the Dogs last week. But I'm going to...
Raiders. Dogs was round 1.
Broncos against the
Oh,
Dogs.
yeah. Sorry, go
on. So I'm going to say Cowboys to win it by 2 points.
3 years ago, this would have been a tight derby match. I don't see it this time. Again, I think the Broncos at home, they're going to be playing off the back of a lot of confidence that they've earned, rightfully so, over the last 2 weeks. And I think with Adam Reynolds coming in, he'll definitely steady the ship. And I think having him play there, if he can get Katoni Staggs up early ball, and if Payne Haas matches Taumalolo's aggression in the middle of the field, I don't see why the Broncos can't run up a win in the 7-12 margin, if not pushing 13 plus. But it's going to be a Broncos win for me.
Yep. Who knows? Derbies, like I said, form goes out the window.
I think this is another instance where form matters on this one.
Anyway.
And finally, of round 3, it is the Manly Sea Eagles at home at the Four Pines Park against the Canterbury Bulldogs. Trent Barrett naming an unchanged lineup. Up, of course, with Thompson and Pangai Jr. starting and Corey Waddell back to the bench, though we might see another late shift again.
Same as the Bulldogs, although Des Hasler has named the same 17. With Dylan Walker suffering a head knock in round 2, he'll be monitored, and Josh Alloway has got 1 more week of his suspension to serve.
I'm a little bit nervous about this one because
I don't blame you.
My heart's telling me to pick the Bulldogs, and I really want to follow my heart. But my head's also telling me, hang on, Manly have gone 0-2 in the past, and then they came out guns blazing in the 3rd round. Are you sure you want to go against that again?
Yeah, and being, the first home game?
First home game for Manly at Four Pines Park with that new Northern Grandstand to be unveiled.
So that's going to be a definite booster. It's probably a somewhat of a sellout crowd.
A kick up the backside Des Hasler will also give them. So I am very, very nervous about this fixture.
Yeah, look, and can Turbo get back into form? That's the next question.
That's the question. I think Turbo, half decent, but he hasn't been able to get his hands on the ball. He needs to go looking for it, obviously.
Yeah.
But Manly just need to lay on the platform. The line speed defense of both the Panthers and the Roosters has been top class.
Yeah.
And if the Bulldogs are even a chance in this, they need to do the same thing.
True.
But other than that, I am very nervous for this game. I think this is sort of the point where Manly will say, enough is enough. It's time to get our season going. And I think it'll be the Sea Eagles 7-12. As much as I don't want to go against the Dogs, but like you, I think Manly are going to come out here and get their first win of the season.
I'm going to say Manly to win by 6 in what will be... I'm going to say it's going to be a good matchup between these two. Dogs are in reasonable form, but Manly are not in so much good form. But they've got home ground, and who knows, they can come out firing.
It's going to be a ripper of a crowd for the Seagulls, first time at home, and that new grandstand as well.
Yeah.
And on that note, that is your NRLW 4-5 and NRL round 2 and 3 debrief. Eve, and that's all we have time for today. Don't forget to give us a follow on our social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Facebook and Instagram, it is simply just Sideline Chat, and on Twitter, it is Sideline Chat RL. But don't think we're done yet. Join us again tomorrow as we take a look at the results of the Betfred Super League. Can Leeds turn things around after a coach departure? Are Warrington on the ropes? And Toulouse finally with their first win of the season? All of that will be answered tomorrow. We'll catch you then.